Hi, I'm Benjamin Bernstein with astroshaman.com, and I'm here with
Spiritsong,
who I've known for 17 years, and we have an exciting announcement for you. We are recording this hours before the spring equinox here in 2021, and that's a powerful time of new beginnings, which is why we're timing the recording like we are, being astrologers and all. And also, we're in a year when, as I've said in a previous video, Uranus square Saturn is the big deal of the year, and that, among other things, means sudden change, even dramatic change, and unexpected change. And we're here to tell you a little story of that because Spiritsong and I are a couple. Again. Now, I understand that for several years, you may have thought, wait, I thought Benjamin was with Maeikisala. And that relationship ended a few weeks ago.
End of January,
so it's been a little while. And she has found new lodging, has been there several weeks, and is very comfortably settling into this marvelous new arrangement, and is growing and evolving as a person really rapidly. So she is thriving in her new situation, and I'm thriving too for different reasons. And so it looks like the separation is really working well for both of us. So I just want to let you know right up front, Maeikisala is fine. She is doing really well, and wanted to get that out for sure.
been a beautiful catalyst for healing for both of you, as any ending and new beginning is.
Yeah, both Maeikisala and I have worked very diligently with the shadow work part of any relationship ending like that. So there's been some intensity and some joy all mixed together. But the big surprise, and as I thought, well, if I were the viewer watching this, what would I think of? Oh my God, he just ended the relationship with Maeikisala. He's already with a new woman. Did he have her waiting in the wings or what? And it actually wasn't the case. I remember stating very clearly as I was, now Spiritsong, ironically, has been the closest counselor to both of us during our times of challenge in the relationship. And you were doing—
And that, I would say, several times have been helpful in helping things come up a notch.
Yeah, so there were times when Maeikisala and I were in a really tough patch, and it was usually Maeikisala working with you that got her through it, and Maeikisala and I back together in more harmony. So you were working to heal us and keep us together the best you could.
Absolutely.
And
had no plan for a new relationship with anyone at that point.
yeah, and when Maeikisala and I finally were clear and definitive, we're done, I stated with absolute certainty, I don't think I'll ever have another committed partnership because I'm too focused on my mission. I don't have the energy to give. I think a worthwhile partner would want more energy and attention that I'm prepared to give them, because my mission is like everything to me. And I think it was you who said, well, maybe the right one would work, the right person.
Yeah, having no thought whatsoever or clue that that would be me at the time that I was saying that.
So just to be clear, as Maeikisala and I ended our partnership, I was in the belief I would probably never have another committed partnership. And you were just as clear that you would never again be in a relationship with me. Right?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes. Not that our relationship ended badly before. It was a beautiful relationship. And we met in 2004. We married in 2005. Had ease and flow all the way and enjoyed each other tremendously. I had my youngest daughter was in high school, and Benjamin, you were an amazing stepfather to her, and we had so much that was going so beautifully. In fact, when we announced that we were coming apart, we were at an astrology gathering, the Astral Friends of Astrology, which we created, which was mainly you creating that container for that organization, which is still going. and had someone say to us, "You two are the happiest couple we have ever seen for coming apart." But that was the nature of the relationship then, and all the years since then. The reason that I was releasing him, and I was because at the time we met, Benjamin had just gotten into a chapter in his life of dating different women and enjoying the freedom and having multiple relationships. And though there was tremendous love with us and we were happy together, I'm such a sensitive being that I would sense when there was a restlessness and ask. And one of the things that I've always loved about you, Benjamin, is you're so honest and transparent. And I would ask, what was I feeling? And you would give me a very direct answer. And I would always say, well, because you would say, I love you, but I am being drawn to want to be with others too. I'm not sure why. I'd say, take some time, be with yourself, think about it, take some time. If we got married too quickly, because we kind of went back and forth at first, we met with me going to hear Benjamin as a singer-songwriter, and I've been a musician all my life. We soon found that my natural harmony was a beautiful addition to Benjamin's work, and we did some performing and recording together. And we were going back and forth about whether we were supposed to be music partners or life partners, and then decided to go ahead and get married, being very clear at the time, but then soon discovering there was this restless thing that would come up periodically. And after a few years of that, I would always say, just take some time, think about it, go within, decide. If we got married too quickly, I can release you with love. And eventually that's exactly what I did, because he would come back and say, it's you I want. I don't know what this is about, but it's not a big part of me. It's just some little thing. We live in a very Aquarian city. In fact, Asheville is Aquarian.
Yeah.
So there are many different kinds of lifestyles, and there is a strong polyamory community in Asheville. And so that was what was drawing at the time. And eventually I just said in 2009, okay, this, has come up several times. I think it's time for you to be free to find out what this is about. Because there was always the return to, I'm not sure what it's about. It's just a little part of me. It's you I want. But there's just this other thing that comes sometimes. And eventually I said, you need to find out what that is. And released with love, just like I said. But the reason that I didn't think I'd be in relationship again is that in 2013, Benjamin thought he was ready he'd gotten the polyamory lifestyle as a part of his life for a while, had a number of relationships, and felt he was ready for primary relationship with just me. And so I thought maybe that could be true, and I let my heart open, and within a few weeks found that that wasn't right. He had miscued on that. And that time I did have to go through a grief process, and had a fascinating experience that I had never had before with the moment that I found out that was true, scaring both of us to death with some processing that came out as a blood-curdling primal scream. I'm like, we're looking at each other and like, oh, what was that? I don't know. I don't know. And then we're talking a few more minutes, and then here it came again. And we're just like, oh my God, that's not my nature at all. And I'd never had any such experience. So I went through my grief process and feeling a little betrayed in what had happened, and having had so much trust, and then finding that it wasn't going to work, and I had to heal that. And so the love between us was so deep. We always knew that we had, we're like guardian angels for each other and friends through everything. We've each had several relationships, and we keep a strong friendship, and the partners that we have are not threatened, have never been threatened by our friendship, because they knew that there was nothing more than being friends involved in that. And I knew, I was really clear, I would never want to just be a primary partner again. I wouldn't open my heart to that degree. But there's our plan, and there is a divine plan. Sometimes that we think we know best, and then we find that there is something being called of us that we may think we're not capable of or ready for. And yet, if we know there's a divine orchestration going on, which is what Benjamin and I found ourselves in a few weeks ago after the coming apart, then we have the choice to either say yes and move through what may be uncomfortable, or say, no, I know what's right, and I've made this decision, and I'm not doing this. So I feel like I've been talking long enough. Do you want to share something? Is there anything up for you at the moment, or?
What she said.
You're right.
No, I do have a few things, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
like,
to,
so how did this happen? And yeah.
well, there's a few thoughts I'm having regarding what you've already said.
Okay.
Back then, in my time before that, I had a limited number of relationships and romantic and sexual experiences. I was the nerd kid in high school who couldn't get a date to save his life. And it really wasn't until this polyamory period that started after you and I came apart that I really dived in and had a great deal of diverse sexual experience. And it was a lot of fun. And I won't deny that for a moment. But I also now see that in terms of where I was trying to go as a shaman and as a person who helps people awaken, there were downsides, because more than once I would have a certain connection with a certain person. It would feel great in the moment. And then I would get into my next ayahuasca ceremony after that and spend the whole ceremony cleaning out the dark entities I picked up from that person without realizing it. So in those days, I was all about, I'm just going to be open to everything and I'm fine. And I wasn't. I had to learn repeatedly and slowly that you can't just open yourself indiscriminately to other people's energy, especially sexual energy, where when you climax, all chakras are wide open. And as one of my partners said, you're trading marbles. and I also learned that the forces of darkness, they found that was my greatest weakness. And on more than one occasion, a person would show up and really want to get sexual with me. And if I did, boy, I found out in the next ceremony just how much stuff I had picked up and had to clear out. So
I'd like to interject for a second,
sure.
too, that that part of our relationship was beautiful, and Benjamin asked me to stay and be primary partner while he explored being with other partners at the same time. I want you, but I want everybody else too. It wasn't a dissatisfaction there for us, and there was no moral judgment for me because I believe everybody should choose their own lifestyle. It's just that I knew my needs in relationship were more in a container. And in fact, when you came together with Maeikisala, that's about where you were getting to when you realized you had to, in honor of your choice as a shaman, have one partner. Maeikisala came along and I was telling you, and your teacher was telling you, you need to be with one being, and encouraged you in being with Maeikisala.
Yes.
It was clear it was the right thing at the right time.
Yeah, so Maeikisala and I had a strictly monogamous container, and I had no problem with that. And even in those times when we were still a couple and I was tempted toward polyamory, I still was never sexual with anyone else.
No.
I was tempted,
Right.
but I always honored the
Yes.
formal container of our relationship. Just
Absolutely.
my yearning was going other places, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was an interesting dance because I'm so energetically sensitive. I'm not really a psychic, but I'm incredibly intuitive and sensory in lots of different ways. I would just know that your full energy wasn't with me. There was something, and that's why I would ask, and you would so beautifully share, but there was no dishonoring of our vows. And you actually at one time, Benjamin said, I don't know what to do. I have no cave anymore. Men are supposed to have a cave. They can go in, and I know everything. You know,
yeah, let me speak to that.
Yeah.
This woman was the first relationship I had where all of a sudden I had no interior privacy.
Mhm.
And I'd never been with a partner who was that empathic and sensitive before. And always before I had my own private inner space, and all of a sudden it's all wide open, and that took some adjusting.
Yeah. I
did adjust, and it was a wonderful level to go to, but it was a whole new experience for a person who never had that before.
And I would say also, if you're a person who is extremely empathic and you pick up and know things, there is tremendous value in that as a couple, if you're willing to be totally transparent with each other, and it gets rid of all game playing.
Mhm.
But there is also an honoring of the autonomy of each person that is important within that as well, that it not be invasive, but you can't ignore or deny what you know, just like when you and I, Benjamin, got the signals that there was more going on than the friendship in our hearts and our thoughts. Again, we could either deny that and do a game or say, oh my God, what is happening?
Why don't you tell what triggered you to even begin to think about being in a relationship with me again?
Yeah. So when Benny and I were together before, I had been studying astrology for 25 years, but he came to a place in his life where he knew that that was what he wanted to do and do it full time and become professional. And I said, okay, I'm coming with you. I had done healing work before. As our paths went along, we did astrology together, we did healing work together. So in the beginning, we had a number of people that we saw, both of us, at the same time. One of those became a client of mine through the years, even after Benjamin and I came apart. And when Maeikisala and Benjamin were coming apart a little while before the final decision that was so clear and had gone through their exploring if that was really the right one or not, and knew that it really was at that point when they had come apart and it looked like they were going to be apart. My client, who is out of state, and I were on the phone. We've become friends. She's a little bit psychic, and she said, you know, you're supposed to be together, don't you? You and Benjamin are supposed to be together. You know that, right? And I'm like, no, I don't. In fact, here's what I know. And I told her why I knew we were not supposed to be a couple, and I loved him tremendously, but that would just be in friendship mode. But yes, seeds were planted at that time, which delights her heart tremendously. She watches this. She said at one point, I have fulfilled my life's mission, or something that was like, she loves to be dramatic, after she found out that we were actually together. But that planted a seed in my thought process, I think. And at one point I had asked if there was ever a thought in his mind of such a thing, and then put it away again.
Yeah, and I thought about that, and I thought, wow, that seems obvious. Like, excuse me, I'd been of the impression that, you know, I would be with no other partner because of my obsession with Awakening Plus and my mission on Earth. And you had said to me at one point before all this happened that there might be a person who would be a great support for that and would be perfectly aligned with my mission and wouldn't feel neglected because of that. And I said, well, maybe. Like, I wasn't really believing that, but I could accept it as a theoretical possibility. And I think when you said that to me, you had no idea it was you, right?
Oh heavens, no, I didn't. It wasn't in my realm of thought. It wasn't, no. I just was expressing that there can be, with a partnership where there's a mutual focus on the mission, a blending of both, so that there's no feeling of neglecting one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Spiritsong and I pretty much have the same mission. We're here to help people heal and awaken, and we're both excited to help the great awakening happen on Earth, the golden age blossoming and all that. So we are pretty much walking the same path. And we have all these years of harmonious relating behind us. And it just seemed like a natural fit. So here we are.
But it was a surprise to me, and I think to you in the beginning, that maybe more to me than you, I don't know, but when I asked if that thought was there, and you said yes, we agreed that it was at that time so close to the coming apart that it just made sense to go very slowly. And we didn't know at that time, even when there was a thought, if there would be anything coming from it, and just go very slowly and keep things casual. And then a few days later, a dinner at my house and a hug on the couch was when I got the, oh my God, I got like a download, clarity, a light coming on that was something I could not ignore. I mean, I could have. It would have been more convenient. But I'm not made that way. When something comes for me that is clearly of divine calling, I have to say yes. My whole life, that's how it is.
So we just cut the video and came back, and neither of us can remember what we were just saying. So we'll just jump in with what we just discussed. We probably wanted to bring out. I don't want to give the impression that Maeikisala and I were not on a similar path. And Maeikisala and I were both very much devoted to healing and awakening and the great global awakening. And we're doing our best to move forward as a team with that mission. But what kept happening despite our best mutual efforts is friction kept arising, and it kept getting in the way of our harmonious work on that. And that persistent and increasing friction was a large part of what caused us to ultimately decide to separate. So with Spiritsong, it's just easier, it's smoother. She and I have a multi-year record of smooth, harmonious interacting. Although lately, you know, as we've come back together, we just go, wow, we've been apart 10 years and
Well, almost 12, yeah.
okay. And I apparently, despite my, I picked up some irritating habits apparently that she's pointing out, and I'm having to smooth some rough edges that I've accumulated since we were last together.
Yeah, and I had a significant relationship for 3 years during that time, but most of it I've been by myself, and I may have gotten more sensitive or, yeah. Well, we've had our chance to, you know, the beautiful thing about this is when we decided to say yes to what we felt we were being called to, it was like coming home because we had been together for so many years and we're so comfortable and felt so safe with each other. But at the same time, there was this newness because we'd been apart for almost, you know, well, over a decade. And you changed during that many years in just little habits and ways of communicating or what's important or, yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, it's largely a resumption, but in a lot of ways, it's getting to know a new person. Because when one comes back together at this level of connection, there are new things to be learned, and you know, we've both evolved a lot since we were last together, and so it's a re-meeting as well.
And a beautiful experience of being able to recognize what's going on when things get a little bumpy and take time to work through it without drama, without a bunch of pain or anything like that. Just, and we might even want to interject that one of the tools that we've been using besides,
I was just about to bring that up.
we're on the same wavelength. Well, why don't you talk about the IFS, because you're fully into it.
Yeah, internal family systems therapy. Awesome stuff. So I have taken a deep dive into this in the last weeks, have read 4 books on it, 2 of them twice. I'm now actively and routinely using it in my shamanic healing and astrology plus sessions because it's such an amazing modality. And I don't want to, this is not the time and space to go into a full overview of it, but the thing that I find so helpful, not only with Spiritsong and me, but in all situations, is instead of saying, I am having or feeling this terrible thing, I can say, a part of me is upset or angry or wanting to do harm to someone or whatever it may be, because we all, according to IFS, have dozens of parts within us. And all the parts are important and necessary. We don't ever want to get rid of a part, but some of the parts are carrying burdens. And the IFS process is all about ultimately finding the wounded parts and unburdening them and then reintegrating them. It is so shamanic. It is totally about shamanic soul loss and shamanic soul retrieval. It is done under the bailiwick of psychotherapy. Yes, but a psychotherapy unlike any I've ever seen that acknowledges spirituality at its core, because when you do it, you work from self, capital S.
And I have a beautiful daughter. One of my children is a certified IFS practitioner. And so I was already familiar with it. And we're actually going to do some deeper study together to integrate it into our work. Yeah, starting in April, we do a 4-month class where we're every Friday we're doing a 4-month class. And we're going to
learning or we're interacting or practicing, we're going to go deep on this stuff, go deeper. And so the relevance of the whole IFS is that, you know, if one of us is triggered by the other, we each can realize, wow, it's not all of me that's triggered, it's a part of me that's triggered. And that is so profoundly helpful in not taking it 100% personal and misbelieving that the part of you that's triggered is all of you.
And even if that's not a big part of your relationship, and it's not, you're not gonna be living through this time we're living in, where there is so much change going on and all around us, that energy all the time, without having some of it in your own life in one way or another.
Yeah, we know many, many, many conscious couples. I don't think I know a single one who is in a total state of harmony all the time. They're all getting triggered. They're all having to work through this stuff. Tell me if you know of an exception, but I truly don't know any of even the most conscious couples who are.
It's very rare, yeah.
For Spiritsong and me, the nature of our relationship is flow and ease and harmony. That's our foundational core. But on those rare occasions when we do have a trigger, the IFS is a super helpful way to deal with that.
And we're thankful for it because it's just a valuable tool. I understand why my daughter Kristen has been so excited about it for so long and have been enjoying getting to know more and more about it.
Yeah, for me, I mean, for over 10 years, my main therapeutic tool has been my invocations for healing and awakening. And this is the first time in all that time that I have found another tool I'm so excited about that does really powerful, helpful things that my original tools don't do. So it's super
well, to
helpful.
me, it sounds like actually what's beautiful is that the shamanic work and your awakening tools blend beautifully with this.
Yeah, and IFS itself acknowledges that parts of its system are directly drawn from shamanic influences. Yeah,
so it's a natural fit together.
Totally. Wow. So if you're still with us, thanks for being that interested in us.
And as you're moving through these times of sudden and shocking surprise, don't be too surprised if you're called to something that is a little different than would be what you would normally find yourself working with. And just from the journey so far, I would say it's definitely worth the time to take to explore all possibilities and to say yes when spirit calls. I recently shared on one of Benjamin's shows, the Gifts in Funny Wrapping Paper, and there are essences of this in different ways for each of us as we're unwrapping this new gift.
Yeah, what she's referring to is actually inside the Awakening Plus membership. And that's available to members. You can learn more at awakeningplus.com if you're interested. I wasn't planning to make a plug, but you just set it up too beautifully.
Oh, well.
and Spiritsong will be an increasingly visible figure in Awakening Plus. And you know, partnering with me and be a more active participants as we merge our paths together in that modality.
Yes.
Anything else you wanted to share with folks?
Just want to send our love and thank you for taking time to take a little bit deeper look and be with us on this journey.
So I usually close my videos with a blessing. So I usually do the plug first, though. So I've already mentioned Awakening Plus, but if you're interested in working with me for astrology, shamanic healing, life coaching, awakening activation, all that's at astroshaman.com if you're interested. And of course, the membership is at awakeningplus.com. And your site is?
My website is spiritsonoasis.com. What I have felt would probably be happening is some offerings together as well for individual work or couples work. I have a strong desire to do more work with couples. And so we'll just see.
Yeah, none of that's in place yet.
Nothing is
We'll see what
official.
develops.
We're just beginning this, so.
So do you want to close by flowing some nice energy to these folks?
Sure.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
I just, there's my hand go.
Okay. You don't do that.
Well, I don't go. "Woo." That's what the energy feels like. So thanks for watching and being with us. And here's a lovely blessing on the way out.
Blessings and love.